Welcome, people. Welcome. You're gonna wait a while, see if somebody tunes in. But welcome to the SOK Planet. And today, I have a tier list. I have a tier list of the 007 series. Yes, 007. And I'm gonna talk all about James Bond. I'm gonna tell you things I know. There's gonna be a little teaser stuff I talk about. And just all knowledge on 007 and James Bond. you know, and you're obviously going to see my favorites and whatnot. So, this is what we're talking about today. And it's going to be interesting. We're going to have a little fun. I'm going to see how long it takes me to talk about James Bond, but I might as well get into it, why not? So let's just jump into it. Okay? Bigger man, that's what I look like. That's what I look like. Okay, so we're going to talk about 007. And 007 is actually the longest damn series going over generations. From the 50s all the way to now. There's been nothing but 007. And there's been changes with them because of the fact that, some things got made fun of a lot because of Austin Powers. But there's nothing wrong with that. Austin Powers is funny as hell, okay? Austin Powers is hilarious. And, it's a good thing. So, honestly, uh, 007 should be glorified, at least all the old stuff. Now, you gotta think about it. When it was created, there was still the Cold War, so a lot of this makes a lot of sense. The espionage in the story. What makes James Bond cool in the older stuff compared to now is because I guess the guy's name is Daniel Craig, the dude that plays the James Bond in the newer stuff. But what makes him popular uh, back then is the fact that he was, a spy for MI6. Um, Very smooth. Had a way of talking to the women. Pretty much making out with every woman. And all the gadgets he has, of course. Everyone's always talking about the gadgets of Q. And Q's been another actor that's been a part of. Well, he's dead now, but when he was acting, he was the longest running character constantly in every James Bond film. Now they had Pennywise and or I think it's her name Pennywise or whatever, and M, who was a guy for the longest, but those two were actually in for a long time until after Roger Moore. Then they just stopped coming about being on the show, or movies, I should say. And there was new M, which we got the female M in the '90s versions and stuff like that. But it's all created by a creator named Earl Fleming, or Erwin Fleming, however you want to say his name. And it was a bunch of books. It was a series of books. And the first book is Casino Royale. But when you go to the movie series, the original Casino Royale that was made back in the 50s was actually a joke. It was like a mockery. There's like this big food fight or whatever at the end of it. There's no, people always go Sean Connery's the first James Bond. But if you watch the original Casino Royale, I think it was made in 1954, Sean Connery's not in it. Nobody that you would recognize is in it really. I think Peter Sellers might be in it. I'm not too sure. It's been a long time, but it was a comedy more than just a spy thing, and it wasn't relevant, so it's not a part of the series. It's not a part of the 007 series at all. So that's the big thing that's happening there. Yes. Okay. So as we get into this tier list, we're going to start off from the beginning all the way to the end. Now, Sean Connery being the very first James Bond. So let's talk about Dr. No. Dr. No is the first of the series of 007 movies where, James Bond 007, where he goes off into pretty much Panama type of, well, not Panama, what does one say, the Caribbean. He goes to the Caribbean. I think he's in Jamaica when it first starts off. The song on there, it wasn't like glorified like all these other songs in all the other movies. It's always the first thing that's created, like if it was a TV show or a movie. Some movies they hit the mark perfect when they first come out, and you're like, that's a good movie, and then they'll make sequels or whatever. But with Doctor No, They didn't have that big intro with all the cool stuff and the girls, and silhouettes, and good music palettes. They didn't have none of that in Doctor No. There's like so they're playing Three Blind Mice, and there's like three Jamaican dudes with glasses on and walking canes like they're blind, and that's the thing that happens in Doctor No. Doctor No is a scientist who created some kind of technology, and he's a supervillain. Now that's the one thing that makes me get obsessed with 007. It's not so much him being, smooth guy with the suit and the gadgets and stuff, and being able to be the coolest Mac in the world to get every broad he talks to. It's the guys that are trying to take over the world, because you got to understand what is their reasoning for it. Because honestly, what is the reason for anybody going crazy and doing something that's like against mankind or people, period? So this is what makes Jet 007 interesting to me. And in Doctor No, he's pretty much crazy. He made this robot that everyone on the island thinks is a real dragon. And Dr. No gets taken down by 007, of course. There's tiny lines in there that you would remember. I'm not really sure what the memory was, what my memory is, I should say, on the actor that played Dr. No. I think he was Japanese, or he was a guy that was pretending to be Japanese, something of that nature. But Dr. No, for the time period was in, and the fire and all the stuff that happens at the end of the movie, I have to say that Dr. No would go in cool. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just gonna say Dr. No was an interesting movie to start off with for 007 at the time. They didn't really have too much action movies. So you have to say that 007, James Bond, whatever, is the original first action movie hero. I mean, because like, look how many movies there is. There's over 26 movies now of 007. Most people will say 25 because they don't want to count Never Say Never Again, which I will talk about when I get to Never Say Never Again. Okay? But yes, Dr. No, I'll put him to cool because it is kind of cool, some of the stuff that happens in the movie. Pretty old. A lot of you guys probably be like, oh, I can't really watch this movie. It's so old and blah, blah, blah. But there's one that really dates itself is From Russia with Love. Now, what's cool about this is they made a video game for PlayStation, From Russia with Love, and they redid stuff. They added a whole bunch of other special effects in the game to make Russia from Love more interesting. And it's actually a pretty good game based off the movie. It makes the movie cooler. There's a line in From Russia with Love that trips me out, but it's a spy. The way you're dealing with another spy is, and then they don't even do this no more because smoking's bad. But it's a cool line. You walk up, and the guy's trying to find a way to light a cigarette. So you walk up to the other spy and you say, "Oh, do you have a light? Do you have a match?" He goes, "You have a match." He goes, "No, I use a lighter," until it goes wrong, right? Because he's trying to light it and then he flicks off because it doesn't go right, and that's the line. So you have to say, "Do you have a lighter?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Do you got a match?" "I use a lighter until it goes until it goes wrong," and then the next thing you know, there's a thing. But there's also history in there too because they talk about how Russia took over part of Turkish tunnels and stuff that actually happened in history. It's before Constantinople became Istanbul, or whatever. It's the whole thing. You just got to know your history there. But anyway, so it's cool From Russia with Love. There's a thing though that makes it dated, and that's microfilm. So there's like little microfilm stuff inside the paperwork of this thing, and James Bond is trying to get I want to say decoder, but it's not what it's called. Anyways, this thing that's able to decode some spy stuff, and it's they go on this train. It's Oriental Express, I think it is, and he's trying to get from Russia with this thing, and there's spies on the train. So there's like this big fight on the train with these spies, and at the time it was cool. And there's also, here's the thing, Doctor No didn't have Q in it. Q was non-existent in Doctor No, but in From Russia with Love was his first appearance. and he came up with it's Codex. That's what they were getting, the Codex. So the Codex was a thing that he was trying to find in From Russia with Love, and so Q explains what he needs it for, and he explains the whole microfilm thing, and it's actually pretty cool. So I like a movie based off the fact that it's got good dialogue. There's a problem with shows and movies nowadays is there'll be so much action and special effects, too much special effects if you ask me. Because sometimes they make these ridiculous creatures and you're like, what the hell is this? And then there's sex, of course, but they go overboard with sex and do taboo bullshit. And you never get to the story at all. Okay, there's no real story. There's no good dialogue. You can actually pretty much predict the dialogue because it's been used so many times, recycled in so many ways. There's lots of different ways of talking and lots of different ways of trying to get to a meaning or to try to get to a way to make a solution sound different. You don't have to always use the same dialogue, but they'll find a way to twist it a little bit so it sounds like that. But no, it doesn't work. So, like I said, the dialogue's good. We come up with a good little idea to get this codex, and like I said, good spy dialogue. Like you have a match. I use a lot until it goes wrong. My British is probably bad, but anyway, so I get From Russia with Love as From Russia with Love. Great. It's a great movie. Great written movie. Now, this one's been blown out of proportion way too many times, and it's because it's one of the James Bond movies where people have seen the most, and I think it's because of the fact that honestly, there's a woman covered in gold and she's butt naked, and it's the only reason why people love Goldfinger. And I'm just being honest with you. It's the only reason. There's a guy. He's a big, I guess you would say he's like a German dude, and he's called Goldfinger. And 007's going there. Now, this movie here, the difference between Goldfinger and Dr. No and From Russia with Love is James Bond's not in foreign countries, except for America. He's in Florida in America. So that's what makes this a little different. And so, in other countries, he's Russia, he's in, Jamaica, stuff like that, and Dr. No, and in Russia with Love. So in this movie, he's going to go find Goldfinger. And Goldfinger's whole purpose, his whole psychotic plan. Oh yeah, and I can't even remember who the bad guy wasn't From Russia with Love. But I can't remember the plot of that part, except for the spy stuff that's going on in the fight in the train. But with Goldfinger though, his whole purpose is to rob Fort Knox. And Fort Knox has all the gold. If you don't know, they don't. I don't know. People say there is some there now. People say there wasn't none for a long time. They say there's no gold in Fort Knox anymore. Like they had sold it or some crap to pay back America. That's a whole stupid concept that makes no sense to me. We owe money to ourselves and da 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 da. But in this movie, this is what happens. So James Bond pretends he's on a vacation, goes to Florida, and he meets Goldfinger. Goldfinger has some girl that he fell in love with, and so Goldfinger gets jealous, turns her into solid gold. At the same time, he has a henchman he named Odd Job. It's funny in Austin Powers, they call him Random Task. But this little Asian guy, this Asian wrestler actually, in real life, he was an Asian wrestler, and his name was, I can't remember now. But anyway, they called him Odd Job. And he could throw his hat, and his hat could cut off statues' heads and stuff, and he was like supposed to be that powerful. And him and James Bond do get into this fight, this big epic fight. There's also that part where James Bond is tied up and lasers are trying to cut him and stuff. There's all the stuff that you see when they try to imitate James Bond and all kinds of little different shows and comedic things. It all came from Goldfinger, pretty much. And then there's the whole thing where there's a bomb in Fort Knox and it's gonna blow up. And it's got a code that's counting down all the way to 1. And they're sitting there and they're trying to figure out how they can stop this thing from blowing up. And so when he finally does stop it, it stops on what? 007. And that's like let you know, oh, it's 007, stop the bomb. So it's played out. It's really messed up. But then there's a girl in there. Plus the thing that the character, the main supposed to be love interest, is a girl called Pussy Galore, which no one really talks about. Pussy Galore is or something like that. It's Pussy Galore. Anyway, she's not really a woman in real life. She was a trans person, I guess. And that's the thing that happens in these movies. There's girls that were everywhere. Some of them were girls, some of them were actresses. I don't know how they found them, but that's what it was. And so, anyway, at the end there's like a parachute. He comes down with her, and it ends. But I have to say, all the cool little stuff with the spies, the odd job on his hat, and the fight with him, and then the whole bomb thing, especially the bomb thing, is actually made the show pretty cool. So I give Goldfinger a cool. I'm not saying it's great, but it's pretty cool. There's like some cool stuff going on, Goldfinger. I mean, it's just like his thing is this obsession with gold. His whole thing was he just wanted gold. Pretty jealous because he turned the girl into gold. And wasn't really. I would say he's like this super bad guy that James Bond is like was threatened of or anything like that, or he didn't pose a real threat to the world. He posed a threat to the economy, and that's bad. We all need money, So that's what Goldfinger's problem was. Thunderball is a movie that would play constantly back in the day, and there's some cool stuff like you know. Plus, there's things that okay. So here's the thing too: the technology and all these James Bond movies start to evolve, But now, to us, it's like, okay, well, that's been around forever. But James Bond was like on the front line of saying, hey, this is going to be your new technology. This is what you're going to have. It's kind of like when you watch old Star Trek and you see Captain Kirk go, and he pulls a flip phone out. It's not even a flip phone back then, it was just some communicator thing. But to us, it's like a flip phone now because we used to, have flip phones, you know. But in Thunderball, he has a freaking rocket pack. They like ride around the rocket pack and stuff. Um, it's pretty much I say it because Thunderball's not one of my favorites. I'll be honest with you, but there is some stuff in there where it's kind of cool between him and the bad guys. Dialogue once again is a good thing in Thunderball. There is some good action scenes and stuff, but I'm not praising Thunderball. So hey, I'm just be honest with you. I'm giving it a bad. I'll say Thunderball is bad, but it's not too much I can tell you about Thunderball because I just don't think it as much as most people. So what I do like here is this is the next one. Now we're in order here. We're going in order. These are right now. We just did the fourth movie. We're gonna do the fifth. So you only live twice. You only live twice is a good movie. Now in this one, the creation that Q makes is a flying helicopter, like a personal helicopter that you can build in your garage, and not one like you need a hangar and all that. Just a little you can build in your garage. You can walk around with it like a suitcase before you build it in a garage, and it's called Little Nelly or something like that. Little Nessie or Little Nelly is what he calls it, and that's what Q made, and that was a big invention back then because hey, it was a new thing. Nobody had like personal little tiny helicopters you can make, and now everyone can do it if they wanted to. Most people forgot about it, if you ask me, because I don't see them around anymore unless you watch sports shows where they do extreme sports. Then you'll see it. But anyway, so You Only Live Twice. He goes to Japan, and now once again, it's a supervillain thing. And this plot actually happens multiple times in James Bond in different ways, and in lots of stoves, lots of shows you guys see nowadays. Lots of movies and shows. It all comes from You Only Live Twice. The bad guy in You Only Live Twice has a hidden base inside a volcano. First off, which is cool as hell. Okay, when I was little, I used to watch like, what the hell? How the hell did he get a base in a volcano? It puzzles the hell out of me because there's lava in there. How do you work around building something out of lava, around lava? But he does it. But anyway, he is in Japan, so there's this whole thing where and Sean Connery's kind of cocky in this movie too, almost racist if you ask me, because there's this line where they ask Sean Connery, they're like, "Have you ever been to Japan before?" And he's like, "No, never." Right? Like with an attitude, like, "What? Why are you so mad about being in Japan?" You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't figure it out, but it's kind of like he was like almost pissed the way he said deliver the line. Just watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like, wait a minute, what? And then there's this whole scene where they try to kill him in his apartment in Japan, and there's this other guy that gets killed. He's a spy, and then the other guy was like, he knows James Bond, and he talks about you want your martini stirred, not shaken. You know what I'm saying? It was all reversed instead of saying shaken, not stirred. And then there's this whole wrestling scene that makes no sense with this guy, and somehow he picks up the couch and throws it at him, and it's crazy. But there's this love interest, and I swear it's like two different girls. I swear it's two different girls. It's like I always kind of trying to figure that out. But there's this part where they take a string and they got poison, and they take the string and it's going over James Bond while he's sleeping and somebody else, and they're taking this little bit of poison and they put it down the string, and it just drips slowly down all the way until it poisons the individual at the ground and they die or whatever. There's a smooth way of being a silent killer without nobody knowing about it. And it's a trip. I haven't seen it anywhere else but You Only Live Twice. And so there's this big thing where he goes to these places and they start doing martial arts, and everybody's fighting, and he's got to fight with them and all this stuff, and then eventually it gets to the point that he has to go to this mount, like I said, this underground volcano mountain or whatever inside of the volcano, and the guy is sending some kind of crap to outer space, and I forget why it's supposed to come back and like destroy some crap or whatever, but it's from the volcano. Or it's supposed to be in the volcano, but there's always some kind of thing where he's in space. They're sending the ship to space. It's the first time space is involved in James Bond, and like I really can't remember exactly how it has been such a long time. But I'll tell you this, okay? Goldfinger had started having good, little good theme stuff with the silhouettes. That's when that stuff really started happening. Thunderball did a good one with the silhouette intro and stuff. But when you talk about You Only Live Twice, it had a good music song to it. It's kind of like they get a little bit of the Asian theme to it. At the same time, the silhouette people in the intro is cool. And so that's another a good thing about the movie is good intros. That's what makes James Bond. Is he has these good intros in the middle of his movies. So that's another plus. And You Only Live Twice. But the fight scene in the volcano is awesome. This is the best thing. He's like starting this revolution and stuff. So Sean Connery's perfect in this movie. The Asian girl in this movie is perfect. Both of them. I swear there's two of them. This is where I get confused. Okay? And then, like, there's this whole crappy thing with him and his weird attitude in the whole movie. But at the same time, it was a good movie to watch. So I'll give it a great. I'll give, You Only Live Twice, great. But the story, too, behind the name of You Only Live Twice, Earl Fleming, the creator of James Bond, had a quote, almost like poetry. He made like a little motto. Okay, a lot of this is all mottos of his ideas. Mantras, mottos. I don't know what the correct term would be, but it was you only live twice. Once when you're born and once when you die. And I always thought that was interesting because when you're born, you feel alive. That's why babies cry. That's why they're just like they touch everything, taste everything. They're alive. They're trying to feel life. And then when you die, you're seeing something no one else had, but you're going through those memories again. So, kind of like some people get dementia and they're reliving childhood again. Maybe because at the end, you start to feel that life that you once felt at the beginning. You know, who knows what the true meaning of it really means, but it does have a nice ring to it. So that's the good stuff about that. So the next one now. after these 5 movies, now, if I remember right, Sean Connery did 6 movies, or 7, something like that. And then there's the same thing with Roger Moore. He did like 7 or 6. And so they're the main James Bonds. Okay, there's no other James Bonds that's been James Bond more than Sean Connery and Roger Moore. Okay, you can flip a coin and say that maybe okay, you know what's his name? Pierce Brosnan did a lot, but it's not as much as these two. And but Pierce Brosnan's more of my alley, along with Timothy Dalton. But anyway, so on Her Majesty's Secret Service, Sean Connery didn't want to play James Bond anymore, and this other actor came in. I can't even think of his name right now. But anyway, on Her Majesty's Secret Service is where James Bond gets married. There's this whole plot behind finding the person that set him up to kill his wife and all this crap. And there's this fight scene. There's this all right fight scene. Um, I don't know, it's just not one of my favorite James Bond movies at all. I can talk about it more, but I'm just gonna be honest. I think it's the most baddest James Bond movie there is. It's a terrible movie, and I think what makes it terrible to me is like I was just explaining all the Bonds. Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, and so forth. These guys are all Bond to me, but this guy here, he just didn't feel like James Bond. Even the way he acted, the way he moved, it didn't feel like I was watching a James Bond movie. But once again, like I said, this is generations. Like, this is the longest series you can think of. You can go on to Fast and Furious, whatever, but still James Bond beats Fast and Furious because they got 26 movies. You know what I'm saying? You can go on with all kinds of stuff, Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, whatever. The longest action series is 007. So, but on Her Majesty's Secret Service, they failed James Bond really bad because he used to be a Mac, and then he gets married. It's like he's not a Mac, he's not smooth. He doesn't have these cool, smooth one-liners he has right before he gets with a girl, and believe me, they're smooth. Right, even from back then, they're smooth. But Her Majesty's Secret Service is jacked up. They shoot up the car. He starts doing this dramatic shaking, crying thing, which you don't never see actors do anymore. But like he's supposed to show pain, like traumatizing them or something. And I guess it's just I don't know what their direction. I'll be honest, I just don't know. So, Her Majesty's Secret Service is garbage. Okay, so the next movie I'm talking about is Diamonds Are Forever. Now that one has a good intro, and the song is beautiful on her Diamonds Are Forever. There's a guy. I want to say it right. I get it confused now because of that one movie, Undercover Brother. The guy's name is Mr. Feather or something. But there's a guy like that. His name is like Mr. Flynn or Feather or whatever. He's the bad guy. He's the main bad guy. It starts off with a diamond mine, and you go in there and there's Africans digging for diamonds. Some guy tries to take the diamonds out. They shoot him dead in the middle of the thing. The coolest thing in this movie when it comes to Diamonds Are Forever is the fact that there's 2 girls and the bad guy thinks he's the shit. Okay, he's got these 2 hot chicks, both of them on one side of him. I think you see that a lot nowadays too. And there's one girl on one side, another girl on the other side. They're supposed to be tough, badass girls or henchmen or whatever you want to call it. But one of them's called Bambi, and the other one's called Thumper. And then James Bond's like, why are they called Bambi and Thumper, right? So the other girl, she's kicking the shit out of him, right? She's thumping her foot on the ground, and that's why they call her Thumper, right? She's like thump thump. I'm thinking, oh shit, that's cool, right? And then the other girl, she's Bambi, so she's ramming at him. She's coming at him with force and stuff. So it's like, oh wow, these 2 girls is the shit, right? And that was like my favorite part of the whole movie. Is this go, oh, this is my girls, this is Bambi and Thumper, and it's just they're thumping and bamming his ass all over the place. So it's like that's the best part of the movie. Okay, I'm sorry, that's the best part. And then this whole thing where there's you got this badass car. They don't make those cars no more, and they riding around and stuff, and I'll be honest with you, that's the best part of the movie is Bambi and Thumper. That's the best part. I can't even think of that now. That's my favorite part of the whole movie. But this guy is a joke. This villain's a joke. He's more like your usual comic book type villain. It got really kind of corny with that villain because he was like, I have no idea. Like his hair is white. He's got this stupid thing going on, and that's where the dumbass white cat comes in, that you see all the time in every freaking thing that makes fun of James Bond, where the guy's like petting the cat and all this crap. The cat comes from this stupid movie. It's like Casino Royale. I mean, not Casino Royale. Diamonds Are Forever. The cat comes in this movie because the supervillain's got this cat. But you don't need a freaking cat. You got Bambi and Thumper. That's the coolest shit ever. Girls named Bambi and Thumper that can kick the hell out of you, and they hot. That's all you need to know. So Diamonds Are Forever goes in great because it's one of the greats. Hold on, I'm gonna put it over here. Okay, it goes in the greats. Diamonds Are Forever. You know, I forget the whole villain plot. There's a stupid villain plot about diamonds. Um, Pretty much, what do you call it when you're smuggling overseas currency? There's some crap like that going down. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I forgot about Bambi and Thumper. So, the next movie is Live and Let Die. And this is going back once again, not so much going back to Jamaica, but it's more that it's like voodoo stuff going on. And this is where Roger Moore becomes James Bond. It's the first movie where Roger Moore became James Bond. Diamonds Are Forever is actually the last time Sean Connery was supposed to be James Bond. And, so Sean Connery, what you see here, minus on Her Majesty's Secret Service, you got was it 6 movies of Sean Connery being James Bond. But when Roger Moore stepped on the scene, his first one was Live and Let Die, which we all know the song because hey, it's been covered by multiple people, especially Guns N' Roses, and the intro's all right. The whole thing is more that people know the song more than they know the movie. But in the movie, there's like voodoo stuff going on. There's this southern thing. Now that's where this guy, this country dude, comes in, and he's got this stupid attitude or accent with the stupid country stuff, that or whatever. And you see him again later on in what's the movie? Let me see. Yeah, I think it's the Man with the Golden Gun. Yeah, it is the Man with the Golden Gun, or is it the Good way, the girl moon. Yeah, it's the Man with the Golden Gun. But anyway, so in Live and Let Die, James Bond is running around and he's doing this whole thing. I think half of it is in like Louisiana or something, and the other half of it's in like the Caribbeans. But either way, it's an interesting movie and it's always cool. What makes James Bond cool to me is not just the fact that because people want to make a black James Bond, but I think it'd be cool if you just made a black spy. Period. That came from Britain or something. It doesn't have to be James Bond. We already know what James Bond is and what's going on. Let's make a whole new character. I'm tired of people making characters we know and turn them into different races and all that nonsense. Let's make something original, okay? So, but when it comes to the Live and Let Die, there's a lot of black people in there, and when it comes to all the James Bond movies, what I like is he goes all over the world and meets these different cultures and stuff, and they're going to meet the spy, and it's a good movie. A lot of people in that movie probably did real well later on in life. And there's a funny thing. Here's the weird part is that the chick got the psychic powers. Okay, and you probably hear me talk a lot about the women characters in James Bond movies. Okay, because it's just they're interesting. But anyway, the girl's a psychic. She's some kind of voodoo psychic chick, and she's a virgin, and he takes her virginity. So I think in the movie you have to question, which I can't understand. I would say like, is it a good thing to take away a psychic's powers, or is it a bad thing? I guess in that movie you would say it was a good thing. I'm not quite sure, but that's what happens. He ends up taking this virgin chick's virginity, and she's psychic, and I forget the rest of the crap that's going on in that movie. So, oh no, there's a part where he's jumping in the water, and there's these crocodiles trying to attack him and stuff, or alligators. I always get confused with crocodiles and alligators. But anyway, so they're trying to attack him and gets through there, and that's that part with the little idiot with the country hat, and he's like, "Hey, Mister whatever the hell he said, and it's stupid. So, but anyway, Live and Let Die goes under cool, I guess. I'll give it cool. You know, it's all right. But now we're at one I really like. You know, so the ones, so pretty much this next category, like everything. When it comes to Roger Moore, I actually like Roger Moore, James Bond, a little bit more than Sean Connery. And it's not that the fact that one actor is actually Scottish and the other one's actually British. It's the fact that the stuff that happens in the movie it becomes more interesting compared to stuff that's like, okay, well, you're going to fight these people. It's like a little bit more forceful because, like, I'll say Sean Connery's James Bond is more of a brawler. He's fighting, he goes in there, and he's getting these guys, he's taking them out. And I'll say Roger Moore is more smooth. Like, he does go in, he shoots people, he does stuff, but most of the time he's not getting in these physical fights like Sean Connery is. He does with like Jaws and stuff. But anyway, the Man with the Golden Gun. The Man with the Golden Gun is one of my favorite James Bond movies. You would recognize Staramanga, which is the bad guy in this movie. Staramanga is a guy that played, man, you guys know him from so many movies, but he's actually the cousin of Earl Fleming, the creator of James Bond. And he's played so many people. He's played Dracula. He's been in, oh man, I'm trying to think. He played one of the wizards in like Harry Potter, I think it was, or Lord of the Rings. Count Dooku. He played Count Dooku in Star Wars. There you go. So, but the young version of him is in The Man with the Golden Gun. Also, The Man with the Golden Gun gave us that little dude that plays Taboo or whatever his name is. Hey boss, they playing. He played that guy. That dude's in this movie too. And this was his first appearance. It was in The Man with the Golden Gun. I want to say Taboo, but his name's not Taboo. It's the hell was his name? Um, Tattoo, something like that. Anyway, he's in the movie. He kind of makes it a little silly because he's a little guy. But why not put little guys in spy movies? Hell, you never know what's a spy. That's the whole thing with spies. You know, you never know who's dangerous, who isn't dangerous. The thing there's a twist in this movie, and the twist in the movie is this: the Golden Gun is real, but yet there's a metaphor. So he has a golden gun. He gets paid $1 million to shoot somebody. One shot, you get paid $1 million. And the gun only can do one shot at a time. So you can put a bullet in there. It's a handmade gun, a custom made gun that was made for him, but it can only shoot one bullet at a time. And it's solid gold. The gold is solid. The gun is solid gold. The bullet is solid gold. And the bullet has the name of the person that is going to kill on it. And so that's the biggest plot of the whole movie. Is there's this gun, solid gold, has bullets as gold with the name of whoever he's gonna kill. And James Bond gets a bullet from a girl that's a spy, and her name is Goodnight. That's her name. Now Goodnight's in like the book, I think, but in this movie, you kind of, it's kind of sad. She's only one time in this movie, but she could be in another James Bond movie, but they never did it. It would have been, I think it would have made it more interesting if she was in more than one James Bond movie, but anyway, she comes, she talks about the bullet. And there's this, when he meets her, he's there in this town, I forget what the country it is, and he goes, "I'm gonna green Rolls Royce," right? It's like, he's like, that got brainwashed in my head. So every time I see the movie, I'd be like, "A green Rolls Royce," right? But, so, anyway, they're in there, and, she goes in there and he's having sex with some girl. He's able to put her in the closet first while he has sex with the other girl. It makes no sense, but it happens. Okay. Then there's this whole thing where they're fighting. He's trying to find Staramanga, and he goes to this restaurant now. if I was a filmmaker, I would copy this scene because it was just so weird and odd, but yet interesting. And you can feel these people, what the hell they're talking about, when even though they weren't talking. Okay, it's the weirdest shit. So he goes up to this place, and it's this like Asian restaurant, and like there's these kids and their mom or whatever, and they're all eating noodles, and then he goes, "I'm here to see Staramanga and whatever." They're all sitting there, and they stop. They just stop and stare at him while they're all having noodles in their mouth. And then he says like, "Oh, you come with me or whatever." And then they all go and suck the noodles. I don't know why that's cool to me, but that's the coolest part. But he goes in there and the guy explains to him he explains the bullet thing and how he's gonna be able to shoot from this distance, and he's explaining the whole science behind guns to James Bond. And it's like it's an interesting little scene. And it's not really a glorified scene, but this is the food part at the beginning with the noodles, and I'm thinking, what the hell, right? It's pretty cool. And so, anyway, I went so far ahead when I was talking about the girl in the closet and all that stuff. That's like later on in the movie. But anyway, so what happens is in this movie, okay, you find out that Staramanga has an island to separate himself from everybody else. The island's in Thailand, though. And this is also the movie where you get the flying plane or flying car. And so there really was a flying car. And this guy attached wings to a car, and he was able to lift off. And who knows how the guy landed the car? But they talk about it in like deleted scenes and stuff, or what do you call it, outtakes and stuff, or documentaries. They'll say, okay, this was a flying car. This was a flying car. And so um, what he does is he goes through this whole thing of flying Staramanga on this island, and he does like tattoos, I guess. But then, he doesn't. When James Bond gets there, he's not angry at this guy. He's not angry at James Bond. Staramanga's like, "Oh, welcome to my island. Hey, you want something to drink?" He's like, "I want to, fight you, whatever." But he has this hidden room inside. And once again, this goes back to You Only Live Twice, because now there's a hidden base inside these weird ass mountain cave thing. This is like this weird mountain cave thing, and there's like this bio chemical stuff that's keeping the place lit, like keeping electricity going on and stuff, and like some other crap going on in there with that. I can't remember exactly why all this chemicals are in there bubbling and all this crap. But anyway, so he goes in there, and the guy has this whole maze set up like you're in an amusement park, and there's like the mirror room, and so you get to run around, and he's trying to run around and kill James Bond. The thing that trips me out about it is that room, because there's somebody else he kills at the beginning of the movie through that room too, which was so weird because if you made this room, you would know all the secret spots. You know all the areas and all this crap. Even if it is an amusement and there's like gadgets and traps and stuff, you would know how to get all around them because it's your split space. So that part didn't really make too much sense. But it was still kind of cool. But then what made it even cooler is when he goes up to this one area, and this is why I say the man, the golden gun is a metaphor. Is he takes him all the way up to this place and he says, "Hey, look at this. This is a gun I created. It's a big laser thing. It's a big giant laser gun that's generated by the sun. It absorbs all the sun's rays, the energy and all that, and it releases it as a weapon." And he shoots it out and he goes, "Now you see, I truly am the man with the golden gun," which is really a thing saying, okay, sun. People say that the sun was made of gold back in the day. It's an old legend, and so that's why it's a metaphor. It's like a double meaning because the sun's rays makes it the gun, makes the gun the golden gun. You gotta know what I'm talking about if you know your mythologies and histories. They used to say there's this old thing about an Indian dude going up in and there's a story, a myth, I can't even talk. There's a myth about a guy that went to the sun and it was made of gold, and there was a kingdom of gold and all this stuff. So it was it's a good thing. So the sun gun that he made inside this cavern cave thing is actually the real golden gun, not the golden gun he got where he's running around shooting people with the name of someone that's on the bullet that's gold. That's not the real golden gun. The real golden gun is inside the thing. And I had discussions with people about this a lot. And so it's the truth. It's the real golden gun. And so James Bond's like, whoa, what the hell? Like, because this is super technology back then. He's like, oh my god, this is a powerful thing. This is a big ass thing. I think everything in that chemical place inside the cavern and stuff is actually helping to generate the golden gun, the sun gun, I guess you would say. And so, it's not even gold. It's like see-through, luminescent type of thing, um, and chrome, whatever. But yeah, that's the main thing going on there. But there's so many cool stuff that's happening in this movie. There's like this. It's like he runs through this place. He's fighting some ninja people, and then, and then like there's like that stupid hit guy from the other movie, the bald headed or the country guy. He's in a car dealership. James Bond steals a car. I don't know how the hell he got to Thailand when he was just in the South. It's like it doesn't make any sense. And he's not even an American spy. He's like a sheriff. And for some reason, this guy is a running gang, and he's in the second James Bond movie with Roger Moore, the second Roger Moore movie. And so I don't know, that guy's in it. And it didn't make any sense, okay? It didn't make no damn sense that this guy's in this other movie. And so there's so much stuff that happens. And there's this boat that he ends up in with Midnight and stuff. But the fight with Staramanga, it got more intense because James Bond fell in love with his woman. And Staramanga found out about it. James Bond was supposed to go to this I think it was a sumo wrestling fight or a kickboxing fight. It's been a minute since in the movie, and he shot her dead. Now the thing about it is, another argument, discussion you would have if you watch The Man with the Golden Gun as much as I have, and then try to watch Octopussy. I swear to God, the woman in Octopussy is the same woman from freaking The Man with the Golden Gun, but she got killed in that movie, The Man with the Golden Gun, and then somehow she's an Octopussy. So I have no idea. Okay, but I give The Man with the Golden Gun excellent movie. Excellent movie. It's amazing. There's so much stuff that's going on, and it keeps you entertained. It's not just about fighting and espionage. It's like, he's shocked at all this crap that's happening. Like, what the hell? They're flying the car. Then the girl's trapped inside the car. The spy that's supposed to be, Moon Knight or Good Night or whatever. She's trapped in the car or whatever that flies. At the same time, at the end, there's a smooth line. He says, because he's about to make out with her, and he's, oh, good night. He's like, like, hey, like, we about to have a good night type of thing. It's a cool Mac, okay? A cool Mac, okay? So, yes, The Man to Go to Guns and shit. It's one of my favorites, okay? So, we're going to another one of my favorites right after that, which is The Spy That Loved Me. Now, The Spy That Loved Me, I remember more than when I was younger, more than most of these movies. And when I was younger, it was like, I don't know, the first time I seen it, I think I was like 5 or 6. And the only thing that really stuck out to me back then, because you're little, some things are cool, some things don't grab your attention. But what grabbed my attention is a car that flew, that could drive underwater. And I was like, what the hell, this car could drive underwater? You know what I mean? Just as I get older, you see parts of it again, and whatever. And so that was a cool part. But the cool part is the intro, too. Good intro. The Man with the Golden Gun has a damn good intro too, and a good song. And they had the good, music in between, the Man with the Golden Gun at the end. But it sounds pretty good. But they never put that in some kind of audio track that you could buy as an album. But it actually would be pretty good. The melody, with the instruments that's being used in that ending and the intro, is actually pretty good. But in the I'm all stuttering now. I'm trying to go through this list without being like last time I did like 3 hours on this thing, these tier list thing. So anyway, The Spy Who Loves Me, the intro is, nobody does it better. But what makes it cool is how it starts off. And he's like skiing down this mountain and he's killing all these Russian spies. He starts off though, he's sleeping with some Russian chick and spy comes in and he goes after the fucking dude. But she was a spy anyway, whatever. And he's going down and he's doing all this crap. What's kind of stupid though is a girl he's in love with, his name is Triple X. Obviously a porn thing. But there's this cool thing with the whole mountain in the beginning. And I love the beginning of this movie because he's doing all this skiing and all this, and there's this music and there's stuff where he's going like this, and you can tell he's not really skiing, and then like he jumps, and also the parachute pops out. And all of a sudden the music comes in, and there's this whole thing with the hands and the chicks doing freaking you know acrobats on lugers and stuff. That's pretty cool. Get a little tiny girl to do a dance on a gun. That'd be awesome if that was real shit. But it's not. So, and you see that nowadays. Like, what was it, Deadpool? Second Deadpool movie, they had the gun, and they're trying to copy this movie. This movie's intro gets copied a lot. So, yeah, and the song got made for like I think it was underwear commercials or something. But anyway, so he's in love with the spy named Triple X, and as the spy that's supposed to love him. At the same time, they're looking for a guy called Peckish, which I used to trip on like back in the day. Go, where's Peckish? And I'm like, who the fuck is Peckish? We see Peckish. He's only in the movie for like 3 minutes, and then he's dead. You're like, wait a minute, they went through this whole thing of finding this dude named Peckish, and then he's dead. It doesn't make any damn sense, right? It didn't make any sense. There's also the movie where Jaws comes in, and he's like got the teeth and stuff made of metal, and he bites pipes and all this crap. And anyway, there's the underwater base. And this is why this villain guy is a trip, because he has this big underwater base that can go up and like come up out of water and move and stuff. And it's like, this is cool shit. You know what I mean? Just think about it. You're a super villain. Where would you hide? Where no one underwater? That'd be some bad shit. No one knows you're there. It's like that's some cool shit. Okay, I'm sorry, that's tight to me. But there's this whole thing with the gun and him shooting this guy and stuff, which Roger Moore says he thought James Bond got really violent when he had to do that scene. But I think the scene had meaning because this guy was completely mad in the storyline. He's really crazy. He's separating himself from humanity by putting himself in that big underwater ocean base. Um, there's a lot of crap going on in Egypt, trying to find Peckish, and after that, which is so stupid, the Peckish thing. I'm so serious about that part. It's so annoying. And, but I know the lines when I'm watching the movie, and you don't want to watch that movie with me because I'll sit there and go, "Well, it's Peckish," and then I'll start explaining all this other crap. So no, but other than that, whole thing, there's this whole thing with Russia because this girl Triple X is from Russia. She's a Russian spy. It's supposed to be a collaboration with Russia and MI6. And so that's what the whole story is really about. Trying to find this guy that's trying to take over the world. And so the biggest thing that's crazy is that the shark, the dude feeds people to sharks. And this is the crap you see in like, Austin Powers movies and stuff. Where like, oh, we're gonna give me a shark with laser beams and all that shit he says. But in fucking the spy that loved me, he had a shark and he would feed people to shark. And so Jaws, the bad guy, the main bad guy that's fighting him with the metal teeth and stuff, ends up falling in the shark tank and biting the shark himself. So it's like a land shark biting a real shark type of thing. I think that's the whole twist in that thing, because he's biting everything like a shark before he ends up in the water with the shark. So you think he dies, but sadly he doesn't. So kind of ruined the movie for you guys. But The Spy That Loved Me is one of my favorites, and I'll put it in here. I'll put it as great because there's some, the whole Peckish thing really bothers the hell out of me. It's so boring. The Peckish thing. It's like, where's Peckish? And they're going through this stupid, they're like showing like some kind of museum thing that glorify the pyramids and thing, and they're walking through there, and all this is just, that part is like, I don't know, just bores the shit out of me. But later on in the movie, it's great when you start realizing all this crap. Oh, plus there's this whole thing where they're in Venice, and they're flying through the freaking thing in boats and stuff. They get the music of, Anyway, it's a great movie. But here's another one of my favorite movies. 007, where I'm obsessed, completely obsessed with the thing the villain was talking about. And I actually think the villain was right in this one. Okay? Moonraker. Okay? Most people don't like Moonraker, though. I have no idea why. But Moonraker is a good movie to me because, first off, the intro's good once again. Um, this whole thing where James Bond is falling and he falls into a circus tent and stuff like that. At the beginning, there's this big thing going on, chase or whatever, and he ends up falling through a circus tent. And that's when the intro starts. Pretty tight. Um, so Moonraker, how can I explain this movie and why it's good to me? Um, I'll say that Moonraker is an interesting movie because of the fact that okay, first off, it's called Moonraker because the guy created this thing in space base, and he has this whole thing going on. Now, there's some one-off characters in this movie, but people still know him. Like I think Grace Jones is in this movie, and she's like this buff chick. I can't even remember what her name is. And you would think she's relevant, but when you get a girl that's already doing aerobics and you call her Jenny Flex, that makes you think, well, her name's Jenny Flex. She doesn't even last that long in the movie. They just want to throw a weird name out there. But the name that's weird as hell in this whole movie is Dr. Goodhead. The woman that ends up following him around like his little sidekick is this girl called Dr. Goodhead. And she works for the bad guy. And it's like, wait a minute, But her name's Dr. Goodhead. Well, when I first saw this movie, I was like, what the hell? Her name's Dr. Goodhead. Well, god dang. Where I be the Dr. Goodhead at? So it was crazy. It was a crazy ass name because it's really odd. But there's a lot of stuff that happens in fight this weird, I think it's like an art gallery because there's like vases they're breaking and stuff and all this stuff. And then, anyway, long story short, because I'm just like go on and on about this one too. Um, the thing is, Jaws is alive. He's trying to kill James Bond again. He falls in love with this Swedish girl with nice melons, and it kind of works, even though they're both flawed. Now the villain in this story, his whole plan for Moonraker is to take all, and it kind of makes sense, but the reason why it makes sense to me, okay? He wants to take all the people. He wants to make an Adam and Eve scenario. Let's just make sense out of that. He wants to make an Adam and Eve scenario, but he realizes if he's gonna make things perfected, that he has to take like an athlete, like you take a guy athlete that's supposed to be, at his prime, physical shape and all that stuff. Take a female athlete that's physically fit, physically strong and healthy, beautiful, both of them supposed to be attractive or whatever, and have them breed with each other to make more people like them. And then it would be more like, same thing, like you find a super intelligent person and you find a super intelligent woman and they meet and they're both beautiful or attractive and perfect eyesight, whatever, and they mate and make babies that are super more smarter than them. This was his plan. And to me, it makes so much fucking logic. And the reason why, I don't know, maybe because I'm super real into this somehow, but I'm just like, it makes so much sense because so anyway, he's got this whole plan, and so what he did was he made this like arc, this space arc. It's like an arc for humans to go into this moon raker thing, and then the moon raker is where they're supposed to stay because Earth is going to be destroyed. And so it's all happening in space. But before it's in space, the place that James Bond goes and meets Jenny Flex and Grace Jones, because I can't remember Grace Jones's character, but they go there and there's all these people around and they're working out and they're doing all this stuff because those are all the people that are supposed to be breeding in Moonraker to come back and take over the world once the world is destroyed and repopulate with perfected, physically fit, physically strong, super genius people, beautiful people. That's what the world's supposed to be like after this supervillain takes out I cannot remember his name, takes out the whole world. But it makes sense in a way because it's just like, wait a minute. And then not in the fact that, and not in the fact that you would go, okay, uh, they're gonna destroy the world, and let's destroy the world and repopulate that part. People talk about that all the time, but no, the scientific part of it is what kind of got me into understanding biology, which I kind of did on my own as a hobby. But it made sense, like if you were to say, for instance, if you mix someone with glasses and they have like, I don't know, 30, 40 eyesight, and then you have someone else is perfect 50-50 eyesight, and then they breed, the baby's not going to have 100, 50-50% eyesight. They're going to have a little bit off because the mother or father had 30-50 or 30-40 eyesight, or something like that. And this is the way the mutations work with humans. Like before, people didn't have blue eyes. It was a mutation that became a thing. And so I started understanding all that crap because of this movie. And I started understanding like how the genome code works, and all that. So this movie actually educated me because of a damn supervillain. It's crazy shit, but it's the truth. It's the truth. But I thought about it like, okay, what if you do take a guy that's a physical athlete and he's super strong and he's got, good agility, good stamina, and you mix with a woman that's perfectly equal with stamina and agility and strength, and it mix together and make a baby that could be the same type of thing, be physically strong. That all makes sense to me. Perfect sense. I mean, you can't deny it. I mean, that would actually work. And it'd be the same thing if you was to take like a person, okay? So yeah, black people meet together and then they make a black baby. But if it was like a strand of DNA that's super like solid, that it will always be, how can I say this in a certain way? I'm not trying to say like, the person's just black and then their kid's black because they're both black. But I'm saying like, um, passing on the same DNA traits. Like maybe their arms are we call it double jointed type of thing. Like that would happen and so forth. I'm trying to explain it and it's not making sense. That part anyway. And I'm just saying like you see strong genetic traits of the culture. Like it'd be even more strong, more ancestral. So it look exactly like the original, which is an idea I had before, where you could take a person of a race. And of course, because there's always going to be, like you can go to Asia, there's tons of Asians all look alike. But what if you mixed all Asians together and you come up with the original Asian, like, the original Asian genetic traits? And so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you mixed all black people together, you come up with the original black people trait, but it would have to be a certain breeding process. But either way, genetic anomalies happen, because of junk DNA. And that junk DNA is actually uh, something that scientists have been trying to take out to make physically strong individual stuff. So anyway, this topic, I can go on and on and on about the genome code and crap, and I'm already confusing the hell out of myself trying to explain things because I thought of it a different way, but I'm trying to say it another way. But the whole thing is, this has been used a bunch of times in movies, the genome code, and taking out junk DNA and all this crap. But it all started, I swear to God, with Moonraker. And so this whole thing with him trying to destroy the planet and bring perfect people back to take over is amazing. So I mean, yeah, I can talk about James Bond more in this movie, but the only thing happens is he becomes an astronaut. He spins around in the astronaut thing. He like throws up or something. He falls in love with Doctor Goodhead. Probably gets, you know, and at the same time he fights in space, and it becomes like this is where people say it's like Star Wars or Flash Gordon because they're up there and there's laser battle. There's this big laser battle on Moonraker with the bad guys and James Bond shooting lasers at each other and things like that. It's pretty cool. I mean, if you're younger, you would like it back then because we didn't have a lot of stuff like you do now with action movies and stuff. So it was pretty good. So I'll say Moonraker goes is great, excellent because just the fact that I'm sitting here complexing and going over the fact of this whole genome code crap because of the supervillain in this movie that actually makes sense to me. We could still have so many flawed people. What if there was a dating process because that's really what it does. It's really what he does in the movie. He creates this whole place, this elaborate mansion where he has people working out and doing everything. He creates this big old place where they can meet, have fun, eat, enjoy each other, and he got to where the mate of the other person that he wants to breed with actually come together somehow. I don't know how he does it. Super villain powers, I have no idea, but that's what happens. And so it was like, this is a good movie. The flaw in the movie was he had Jaws working for him, and Jaws fell in love with the little Swedish girl, and she's a tiny little thing, big breasted. He's this giant ogre Frankenstein looking thing, and somehow it doesn't work for the supervillain. It doesn't work because he wants only perfect matches to breed together to make perfect humans. So Jaws revolts against him because he wants to be with his little bug-eyed Swedish girl with big breasts, and that's what happened. See, it's messed up. I know how I'm talking about these James Bond movies because it's the truth, though. There's a lot of stuff with women in these movies. People try to say women are irrelevant in movies in the past, and it's not the truth. Like, there's some powerful ass women in these James Bond movies, and I'm gonna get to one really soon. One of my favorites is one of them. Okay, I'm not even gonna explain how tight she is. But anyway, so I'm gonna take a small break. I go to the bathroom. But so far, this is the tier list. And as you can see, I like a lot of good ones. We only got one terrible one, and that's just freaking On Her Majesty's Secret Service's garbage. Thunderball, people would argue with me that it's not bad. I mean, honestly, a lot of people would argue with me. Only thing that's cool is Jetpack back. I mean, honestly, that's to me. And a lot of other stuff is good in there too, but I like this is the ones I watch the most is these top ones, you know. And so anyway, I'm gonna take a small bathroom break because, well, I gotta go. I'll be right back after these messages. Okay. Well, wait a minute. What am I doing? Okay. Okay, okay. Literally, I can go on and on all day about the Geno Code and the crap that happens in Moonraker. Really love Moonraker. When it comes to the man with the golden gun, I want that island. I want to be in that freaking underground cavern thing and have a golden gun that's controlled by the sun. Okay. I want to be the spy, and the spy love me. Have me an underwater secret base. Okay, with a car that goes underwater. That was made by Q, by the way. And yeah, that'd be so freaking awesome, man. But the Geno Code thing, that's the biggest supervillain thing that like. And there's another villain that puzzles me like that. That makes me think a lot. So yeah, so that is the best villain and thing. So anyway, for your eyes only, I actually got an idea for a show using that, you know. But for your eyes only, it's a good movie, you know. But he's like James Bond's supposed to be really falling in love, and you know, and the girl's like, he wants her to give it up. He won't give it. She won't give it up. And she's like, you know, at the end she's like, this is only for your eyes only type of thing. Hence the title. Okay, but the song is good, and it became like a number one album type or song thing, you know. For your eyes only, only for you. You see what no one else can see. It's always breaking free for your eyes only. Which means I've seen the movie too many times. But yes, it has a good intro. I gotta laugh at myself. Okay, but yeah, so that's what happens. Okay, it's just, it's freaking. To me, it's a love movie. It's a good movie. For Your Eyes Only is a good movie, and I can't really get into a lot of stuff with it because, well, it's one where I've seen it, and there's this car chase and this whole thing with this hill in the car, and you know I barely remember a lot about Your Eyes Only, you know, because it's not one of my favorite James Bond movies. The villain's kind of, you know, what's the word I want to say? Uh, this is a common villain. He's not special. The espionage is all right. Um, can't tell you what I remember Q making in that movie. And Sean Connery, he sold his a bit. But it's all about the girl in him. It's pretty much a love movie. So I will just put this in a cool area because it's cool, you know. And the only thing that's really awesome is the theme song, I guess. It's a big thing back in the 80s. So yeah, Octopussy. One that people talk about all the time. They always tell you about it because obviously you got pussy in the title. You know, Octopussy. And to be honest with you, it's just another one of those. It's like well, once again, a villain that doesn't make sense. And there's good action in it. There's something, if I remember right, I might be getting it mixed up with like Tomorrow Never Dies. But there's this part where there's a water uh, freaking they call it warehouse. I don't know. I got it confused. That movie, Octopussy, I have to say, at least is kind of great because people like it. But here's the problem with Octopussy. The problem I said a minute ago, a while ago, is why I have a problem with it and why I can't really say too much about it. Because I done gotten arguments with people about Octopussy. Because the girl in there, I swear to God, is the same girl that James Bond fell in love with in The Man with the Golden Gun, who gets shot with the golden gun and dies. You know, because they went to some wrestling or martial arts event, and he's talking to her. She's actually dead the whole time. She's sitting there watching the fight and stuff. So it's the same actress, I swear to God. And so I think it's stupid. People's like, oh, that's not the same woman. She looks exactly the same. It's the same woman, just different name, different character, whatever. You know, and so that's the problem with Octopussy to me. But other people are like, oh no, that's not the same girl. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, obviously I know what I'm talking about because I'm watched a lot of these James Bond movies. But yes, I don't like Octopussy like everyone else does. I'm not gonna say it's super good. People say it is. So people are gonna hate me when I make this little decision here, and that decision is Octopussy is actually bad. It's a bad movie. You know, I'm not gonna put it up here in grade and cool and all that because I don't believe that. I believe it's garbage. Not so much garbage. I just believe it's bad. It's not a good movie. So it's one of his bad movies to me, and that's honest God truth. So in '84, Sean Connery didn't like uh, Roger Moore being James Bond. He felt that he was a better James Bond, and actually paid for his own James Bond movie. And that movie was Never Say Never Again. Because he was told that he was going to say he was never going to be James Bond ever again. So the title came up with Never Say Never Again. And that's what he did. And in this movie, Sean Connery comes back. You can tell he's older. He gained weight a little bit, you know. And he's going through this whole thing. Now they bring back the original actress that played Penny Wise or whatever, and the dude that played M. And in this movie, James Bond has some kind of health problem, and they make him go to some kind of health resort. And the dude tells him that he has to go there, and so Penny, the chick Pennywise or whatever her name is, I keep saying Pennywise. I might be thinking of something else. What was that? The It? I think I'm thinking of. Anyway, Penny's whatever the hell her name is, the secretary chick that works for MI6. Okay, she starts trying to flirt with James Bond, and it actually looks like her grandmother, his grandmother, because she's old as hell now. But everyone's old as hell in this movie. There is no Q in this movie though. There's a guy called R, and he looks like a Russian defector. Like he went to be on the other spy team. But anyway, he created some stuff for James Bond. It wasn't relevant though. Can't remember what it was. I think it was cyanide caps or whatever. Something like that. But anyway, she says this thing about his mission, and he's like, "Oh, I'm supposed to go kill all the free radicals." Like I mean, the free radicals is supposed to be this whole thing, weight loss thing. Like, I'm told to go kill all the free radicals, but in the way it sounds like he's actually going to go kill spies. But he actually goes, he tries to work out, and all these workout equipments that none of us use anymore. There's this big fight with him in the middle of the workout place. With that, he ends up going to some country. I think it might be Cuba or whatever, and he's fighting a lot of people there, terrorists and stuff there. It's actually a good fight. Good boat scene too with this one girl, which I think once again is supposed to be a trans person, but she can't. In the movie they make her look like, oh, she's just a beautiful chick and stuff. And then there's this big old other scene going on with the jungle and them fighting. A lot of good fight scenes with guns in this movie. I have to say, because people don't consider this a James Bond movie because Sean Connery came back. He paid for his own thing. Q is not in it. That was just a big sign that it's not a James Bond movie. Even though when Sean Connery originally became James Bond, there was no Q in Doctor No. But yet still, they say, okay, it's not a James Bond movie. But I'll tell you, it is. And the music is alright. Never say never again. Again. It doesn't have no big intro because once again, it doesn't have that James Bond budget as the other movies. It has his budget that he paid for. So it doesn't have that big intro with the silhouette people and all that. But Never Say Never Again is actually a good James Bond movie. And I'll put up in a great area because I like the whole fight scenes in this movie. There's a lot of good ones. Yeah, so I really like the action in that movie. So that's what I get that one. View to a Kill. So, A View to the Kill is so 80s. It's like, it just proves that it's an 80s movie, okay? There's a freaking robot in this movie. And the robot, even the way it's filmed, it just reminds me of the 80s. It's kind of like, scenes in there kind of remind me of Robocop or something. And just the hair of the chick is blonde and these like blurry kind of blonde hair thing going on. I think A View to the Kill is actually where snowboarding first came from. There's this whole snowboard thing with the snow again and him coming down a mountain, and there's a snowboard, and then after that, snowboarding became a thing. I think James Bond created snowboarding people, and so there's that thing going on, and then there's this whole the reason why I call it a view to kill is people can see from a distance, kind of like snipers and stuff, and all that, you know. But there's this robot, and somehow the robot saved the day at the end of the damn movie, which is the weirdest shit. Because there's never no robots in a James Bond movie, but there's this tiny, stupid 80s looking robot. And 80s robots are always white and clunky and big headed and they big old robot eyes, but they're digital, they're not real eyes like they do nowadays. But it's just like, I don't know. View to the Kill is a good movie. Um, I'll say it's cool, but I won't give it like a big. Once again, it's no the villain's irrelevant to me. He's not no one special. There's nothing really good. There's some like I said, there's good stuff going on in the movie though. And the blonde girl, I think, actually became Vicky Vale in Batman, if I remember right. It's been a long time. I think that is the chick that became Vicky Vale. But yeah, so that ends Roger Moore being 007. And because I done split up, I guess you got counted how many times Roger Moore was a James Bond. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So seven times, and then I guess Sean Connery was one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So seven, seven. It's an even number between the two of them. So in between those two, they made most of the franchise of 007. And most of their movies are pretty damn good. So, great, great, great movies. So, The Living Daylight. Okay, it was when Timothy Dalton became James Bond. Now, I actually liked his James Bond. Most people don't. And it's because he started getting violent. Okay, but at the same time, there's Easter eggs in there, right? Like there's this part where he goes in and there's this code or whatever to the this room, and then he presses the button and goes, "Nobody does it better." You hear the tune when he's typing the code because it goes dee 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 dee. Right? That's the Easter egg in there. Right? There's this couch that eats people, and it didn't make any sense. This couch, he sits down on this couch that eats people. But anyway, Timothy Dalton's this whole thing is about uh, opium. The whole thing in the Living Daylight is about opium. It's about the Arabians having this opium business, and they explain it and how it's going across the world and how they're selling it and stuff. And Timothy Dalton's taking them down, and he's taking all these spies down. This is where I say, like, you get these generic villains. I mean, yeah, so opium's a thing, okay. Whoop de doo. You're not trying to destroy the planet. You're not trying to have a secret underwater base. You're not doing super cool villain stuff. You're just some damn drug dealer, global Muslim drug dealer. And didn't do anything cool. So, yeah, but I'll tell you, the action in this movie is awesome. There's this whole thing where he's trying to catch the plane before it leaves with all the opium, and that's the best part of the movie. These are idiots outside. I think they're drunk. It's stupid. But anyway, so yeah, that's the best part of the movie is that he's trying to catch this plane before it takes off before daylight, which is the living daylight. It has all this opium and stuff. And so that's the thing. And there's like this big fight scene that's tied to, or I think he's on a boat, or that's before he got to the other country or whatever. So it's a good movie. It's one of Timothy Dalton's best. But so The Living Daylight, okay, and to put in here is great. Okay, but here's the one that's excellent. It's License to Kill. License to Kill is a good movie. I think now I can't remember the name of the musician or the female singer. I want to say it's Tina Turner, but Tina Turner did Goldeneye. But there's some girl that was really famous back then that did License to Kill. And License to Kill is a good movie because, well, they try to take away James Bond's license to kill. And that's what makes him cool is he got a license to kill anybody, anytime, whenever the hell he wants. And nobody can question it. He can just kill anybody. If everybody had a license to kill, it'd be a pretty cool place probably. Because why? Most assholes be dead. Or it'd be a threat to everybody. So it's a whole conundrum thing. But anyway, so that's what's going on. He's trying to get his license to kill, and he's running around doing all this stuff. Um, but I'll just be honest with you. I'm not even gonna explain it. You need to watch this movie. This is a Timothy Dalton movie that deserves to be watched. Because now he's mostly in comedies and stuff. When actors get old, they're like, when they're younger, they're exciting. They're doing all this stuff. They're really lively. They're like happy to be on film, doing all this jumping and everything. And then as they get older, they slow down. The most of their movies, they're not really doing much, but you like them because they're nostalgic, and you get into what they're saying and what they're doing. Excuse me. You get into what they're saying and what they're doing, but they're not as lively as they was. Like Eddie Murphy used to be like super, guy. He's jumping around, and as Axel Foley, he's doing all this crap. As what I'm saying, Reggie Hammond, and he's just doing all this stuff, and later on he just slows down. And even when he did Metro, he was still kind of in the thing, but then he became like a slower actor. Not really a lot of active stuff. I mean, it's the same thing with a lot of actors. They'll be really jumpy and moving around, but then just become slow and slow movement, but they still be able to keep their craft the way they developed it. And so, it's the same thing with Timothy Dalton in this movie. Really freaking fast, action packed. Everything's cool. I mean, this is an action movie. License to Kill is a good action movie with Timothy Dalton. And on top of that, it's his best. It's one of his best movies, I'm telling you. So I put License to Kill, boom, right here. Okay? It goes right up on excellent because it's just a good movie. I mean, there's nothing you can say that's flawless, flawed in that movie. I mean, I can tell you flaws and crap and like I do with all the other ones. But literally, License to Kill is a damn good movie, man. So go watch that movie. And now we're getting to the story that is a trip because we always know about 007. No one ever talks about other 00s. Well, they do. The first time a 00 is mentioned actually is in You Only Live Twice. When the dude gets killed, before he gets killed, he says, you want your drink stirred, not shaken. And he talks about how 003 got killed. And then like there was another movie, I think it's uh, Spider Loves Me, and they talk about 004 and how he got killed or something like that. So they talk about other 00s in the movies, but it's very something like stupid happened to him, And so yeah, and You Only Live Twice. They talk about 003 dying, and that's the first time. And so that would be after Goldfinger. So this movie we're talking about is Goldeneye. Now this is when Pierce Brosnan becomes James Bond. Now every movie before, besides Never Say Never Again, so forget about that one for a minute. And this is another reason why they don't consider it a James Bond movie, but it is. But the reason why you don't consider Never Say Never Again because it's not part of the book series that was originally made by Earl Fleming, which is why Goldeneye is actually should be considered the same thing when it comes to Never Say Never Again, because Goldeneye is actually a base, or actually like the creator, should I say, Earl Fleming's homestead. It's kind of like Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch, or Elvis Presley's Graceland. People would name their places, or what do you call it, like I forget what God dang, I can't think of it. George Lucas has whatever the hell the name of his place is called, Star Walker Ranch or whatever. So it's like that. So the creator of James Bond had a place called Golden Eye, and so for some reason they named the movie after the place that he actually lived in, Golden Eye. And so that's what the movie's about. Except for in the movie, the twist is Golden Eye is actually this highly advanced microchip that can control a satellite that can shoot a laser down and kill everybody and some crazy shit. Okay? And that's cool. It's cool. But so the whole thing is when this movie was created, the Cold War ended. And this is actually what should have ended James Bond altogether, because James Bond's about espionage, having to do with the Cold War against the Russians, because Russians are brought up so many times in these movies, and so many other different things. But in GoldenEye, which is cool, it's not just the fact that they made a video game about it that became the best game ever for freaking Nintendo 64 back in the day. And you can be everybody, kill people with so many different options on how many characters you can be and all kinds of stuff. If you didn't know anything about James Bond, GoldenEye the video game was gonna tell you about it, you know. But GoldenEye, the movie, is awesome. Okay, there's this whole thing with the little nerdy guy and how um, he created some crap with the GoldenEye. Um, so anyway, the beginning of the movie is the best part because he goes in there with this 006 dude, and they're going in there and they're trying to kill the Russians and stuff. And there's all this crap, and James Bond hides by the thing. They're supposed to be putting these bombs in these things and to blow them up and things. And you know, 006 gets gunned down. So James Bond's like super angry now, like he's trying to kill him. He gets into the plane. The plane's going over the thing. Everyone's following this plane, shooting at it and shit. The plane falls down, and all of a sudden, when you think it's gonna crash, it takes off. And that's when Tina Turner comes in and she starts talking about golden eyes and how she wants to kill people and all this. And, it's a good song. Good song, good movie. Anyway, I think the trip of the movie is the fact that 006 was a double agent or a triple agent. He was a triple agent, double whatever. He's working for the Russians as well as MI6 and some other shit. And he was actually he planned the whole damn thing. He wasn't even dead. And then you got this nerdy dude who created GoldenEye. And GoldenEye is just disc, okay? And it's like, this dude's like obsessed with the computer and GoldenEye and the whole freaking satellite. It falls under great James Bond action stuff because why? There's a great villain, there's a great weapon that can destroy us all. Perfect shit. And I love it. I love GoldenEye. I can go on and on about it, but it's a good movie. And it's one of the best. So I put it where? Boom, excellent. I'm not even gonna keep going on about it. We already know GoldenEye is a shit. Now, you see the thing is, so this is pretty much makes my thing with 007 movies is Timothy Dalton, Sean Connery, Roger Moore. Now, just because I put something in great section doesn't mean I don't really like it. I really like it. But when I say excellent, when I'm putting it on excellent means I watched the movie more than I don't know how many times. I lost count. Okay, I lost count on how many times I watched The Man with the Golden Gun. I lost count on I don't know how many times I watched Moonraker, License to Kill, GoldenEye. I lost count. I watched the movie so many damn times it don't make any sense. But great means I done watched it close enough to about not knowing how many times I watched it. And cool, I think it's cool. Bad, they bad. What the fuck is going on? Anyway, so Tomorrow Never Dies. Okay, Tomorrow Never Dies. I would say it's kind of like, well, first off, it's Pierce Brosnan's second movie, and I would say that as James Bond anyway, and I would say that it's good because, well, there's this whole thing. The girl Christmas Jones is the dumbest name. I mean, they come up with dumb names for women in these movies anyway. But Christmas Jones is just a really jacked up name. Okay, that's her name. It's Christmas Jones, and it's kind of like she got caught up real quick in the thing. She has nothing to do with the spy thing. She's mostly a scientist, I think, if I remember right. And this whole thing with Asia and the Asians and stuff. I forget exactly what the plot was, but I know there's this whole thing later on. It's almost like a copy of GoldenEye in a way. Um, but at the same time, it does have a lot of action. It's a good movie, but it's one of the movies I've seen several times, but not a lot. It doesn't really catch the thing. The only thing cool in there is, the way Timothy Dalton acts. And then there's a whole other thing, too, where um, they're trying to be spy companies different and stuff. Because you gotta get used to him in that movie, too. So, I don't know, but I put it as a great movie. I'm gonna say it's well, no, you know, I'm confused about this because it is a good movie. Don't get me wrong. Oh no, I didn't want it to go there. It's not bad at all. It's not a bad movie. It's not terrible either. I can't put it back in the playlist. So I can't say it's bad. Damn sure ain't terrible movie. Um, I want to say it's cool. Well, I'll just give to Tomorrow Never Dies as a great movie, but I'm not gonna say it's like super great. We'll just put it as cool. Fuck it. It's a cool movie. Okay, but it has nothing compared to The World Is Not Enough, which is the one I like a hell of a lot. I've seen the movie so many freaking times, like back to back. I had to rewind it. Okay, like wait, what? Because some things don't make sense to me, and The World's Not Enough. It was just like, okay, so The World's Not Enough. I think this is like the last movie Q did too, or one of the last movies Q did. The actor that played Q. Uh, the World Is Not Enough is about. Oh man, I don't know how to explain this movie. It's one of my favorite James Bond movies. Seriously, it really is. And once again, this is one where I'm obsessed with the villain because it's two villains. But the first villain you think is the villain ain't the villain. And you're like, what? He's not the villain? What the fuck? And the tripping part about it is in the beginning where, they do the whole thing before the intro comes and the silhouette people come and Garbage did the theme song to this one. Actually, the theme song for Tomorrow Never Dies and uh, The World Is Not Enough, I think were both done by Garbage, but the rock band Garbage. And the thing about it is they're both good songs too, so that's another plus. So yeah, I'll move to Tomorrow Never Dies up. But anyway, just because of the theme song. But anyway, so The World Is Not Enough is about James Bond, and of course, they're all about James Bond. We'll just put it this way: MI6 is under some kind of like thing because one of the people that knows M, which is the leader of MI6, the daughter was kidnapped when she was young by this terrorist who supposedly had brainwashed her and manipulated her. But at the beginning of the movie, though, there's this girl and she does all this crap, and James Bond's chasing her through the water with this new boat that M made, or Q made. I mean, Q made this tight ass military boat thing. Whatever, he makes gadgets, and he's going through the water and he's chasing this girl through a speedboat, or she's right on a speedboat, and she ends up on this air balloon and all this crap, and James Bond's up there hanging from it and stuff, and he goes, I can save you, and she goes, not from him, and then she kills herself. Right? And it's like, what the fuck? Right? Because she says, not from him, you can't save me from this guy. Right? And so, then James Bond goes through this whole thing where he's talking to M and he's saying that he remembers the girl, and somehow all this crap happened a long time ago without none of us knowing it because it's never been in any of the James Bond movies. It's just a story that happened off stream and probably off book, whatever. So this girl supposedly was kidnapped by a terrorist and brainwashed while her dad was like supposed to be running this organization's oil company that he owned. And so James Bond was familiar with her and didn't know who the guy was or something like that. And so then you find out that the guy who is supposed to be the bad guy has a bullet trapped in his brain and can't feel anything. And he can't feel pain, he can't feel nothing, and all this. And so the girl whose dad, was kidnapped or whatever, she comes off like one of James Bond's love interests. And that's the trippy part. And the whole thing trippy part. If you dated a woman and you did some complex, crazy shit happen, then this movie makes sense to you. Literally makes a hell of a lot of sense to you. And so the thing that trips me out is first off, the quote, "The world is not enough," is actually supposed to be a motto of James Bond's family. Like his family would always say, "The world is not enough." But supposedly his family died when he was in college or something, and that's the main title of the story is based, or title of the movie is based off of that motto alone. But in the movie, there's another one that's already put there by the villain and the villainess. And so that title is there's no point in living if you can't feel alive, which is put out there by the guy that's supposed to be doing all this crap. But then later on, you find out it's not his quote. It's a quote of the crazy bitch. And the quote is, like I said, there's no point in living if you can't feel alive. So you actually have two good ones there. Because it's the truth. If you're not living life to your potential, then there's no point in living at all. And when it comes to the world is not enough, it's not enough. The world's not enough for everybody. Everybody has their own dreams, goals, and things they want. The world could give us more opportunities if it was made for all of us, but it's not, and that's why there's always problems because there's not enough world for all of us. And that's why people dream about being in space and space explorations and stuff like that. But anyway, so those are two good quotes of the movie, and both of them make a lot of sense. And so that's one of my favorite things in this movie. Uh, Another thing is the fact that this bitch is crazy, man. This movie, I remember talking to a friend and I was like, we were watching this movie. Well, I was watching it. He came over and I was like, he's like, why are you watching this again? I said, because, man, I can't understand this broad. Okay, her whole thing doesn't make sense. Okay, it's like she says her dad's company and her mom or whatever. And she's like mad at her dad, and she's like, I'm taking this company that he owns was actually my grandfather's, my mom's dad's business, and my dad took it away from him. I'm taking the business back away from him for my family, but he's your family. It doesn't make any damn sense. It doesn't make no sense, y'all. It confuses the shit out of me. And I was like, what the hell? And it's like, you just have to watch it. The way she explains it in the movie makes it even more odd, the way she explains it. But for some reason, she doesn't consider her dad family. And she considers that it's her mom's business, even though it doesn't make any sense. It confuses the hell out of me. And so, and then so my friend, when he came over and he was like, why are you watching this again? And I explained that, just what I just said to you guys. And he goes, because she's crazy, man. That's why it don't make sense. Crazy bitch. And I said, well, fuck, man. I just still don't get it, man. It doesn't make sense to me, man. It doesn't make no sense, okay? It's your grandfather's business and your dad inherited it through marriage or whatever, then it's still your family business. But to say you're taking it back away from your dad, But the whole thing, this oil pipeline going from Russia to Turkey is actually a real thing. It actually happens in real life. So all that made sense. But there's this part where the pipe blows up and James Bond's in there, and the whole thing was constructed. There's like some weird ass plan constructed by this girl who's playing a victim the whole damn time. Before you realize she's even the crazy bitch that she is. And then there's this fight with the dude around that. I think that's the same time that he fought the guy with the bullet in his head, which was crazy as hell, man. I mean, so the world is not enough. It's a damn good movie. There's so much stuff else that's crazy in this movie, but just the whole plot alone is just like it's crazy because you sit there for the longest trying to figure out what's this guy's motive, what is his plan, and they making you think he's trying to get back to the girl, but then they tell you okay after he finds out the bitch is crazy, then they're like oh well she was manipulated by him. He's running the show. When it turns out that she's not running the show at all, she's running the show and actually manipulated him and got him convinced to become kidnap her. He was everything was constructed by her. Period. Point blank. But you think it's constructed by the dude because they make this guy seem like he was a threat in the beginning when a girl kills herself and says, you can't save me from him. So then my whole point with that part is what was her point before she died? Where did she fit in? Was she actually constructed by him or was she brainwashed by the girl as well? So it's like, it just so many questions with this movie. So I will put The World's Not Enough up here in excellent because it just confuses the hell out of me. And I done watched this so many damn times, I still can't figure out what this chick's problem is. It's just like she's a supervillain that changes stuff around and confuses the hell out of you. People say the stuff that she did is kind of like Joker type crazy shit. It's just crazy. I don't get it. So, with that being an excellent, the next one that should be there, but maybe not, because I'm kind of debating, is Die Another Day. Now, Die Another Day, Madonna did a good song there. Good little intro thing. Same thing with Rose Not Enough. Real good intro with the silhouette stuff. I like that stuff. And anyway, so this whole thing has to do with this ice castle thing they destroyed. You know, he's gonna die another day. Um, I can't remember exactly what the plot was, but I remember there's a whole thing where they're fighting in this ice place that's actually real. I think it's in Iceland or Greenland, and they went there. There's a lot of other stuff that happens though that's kind of cool. But this is actually Timothy Dalton's last time of being James Bond, and I say he went out pretty good with this one. But I have to say, still, the world is not enough was way better way to go out. Like he was amazing in that movie. This movie is pretty damn good too. But you could tell most of it was a set. It wasn't like real stuff going down. Man, it was an alright movie. I think this might be the one where the Russian guy died. There's a big Russian dude, and he ended up dying. I think it was this one, or either it was World. Well, it must be this one. I'm confused. It's been a minute, so I'm still gonna give this one. I'll put this in a cool section because it was a cool movie. There was some cool stuff going on. I completely haven't seen it in a long time. Like I said, the ones at the top I've seen a billion times. The ones here I've seen multiple, times. But these ones here I've seen them all. So that's why they're cool. But I didn't watch them as much as all the other ones. So with that Die Another Day, I did watch it several times. But I just remember the big ice fight and the big ice tower thing. I can't even tell you. I think there was some kind of ice ball weapons, some kind of I don't know nuclear weapon that was made of ice. I can't remember. Maybe I'm thinking of another James Bond movie. I don't know. But anyway, it's in the cool section. Now we get to this new guy, the last guy that played James Bond, and maybe we might play him again. Who knows how they do stuff? But when this guy came around, now each James Bond movie, depending on how many, you know, years, and most of them had like 5 years apart. Some of them had 3 or 2. There was lots of different years between James Bond movies. But when it came to making this one, it was quite a number of years before they made Casino Royale. And the thing about Casino Royale is actually the very first James Bond story ever written that's supposed to be a movie. The first one, like I said, that was originally made called Casino Royale, was made in the 50s. Was mostly a comedy, so that's why it's not in this thing. And it wasn't Christopher. I mean, not well. It wasn't Sean Connery, okay, and it wasn't freaking Roger Moore or anybody like that. It was just some random actor. I can't even remember. For some reason, I keep thinking Peter Sellers, but Peter Sellers did similar movies like that back in the day. But this Casino Royale, I'll say the best part is the part where he's chasing the African. I want to say he was in Africa, but he was chasing the guy all over the hell, and they were moving super fast. That stuff was like, whoa, what's going on? They're like, what's gonna happen? But the thing, it had to be a whole different feel because we're looking at a whole different James Bond. We're looking at a different attitude and different nature. And then there's a part where he fights in the bathroom. Just all bloody. It's just really violent as hell. By this time, James Bond doesn't have that charm anymore. He's not the Mac anymore. He doesn't got a way to be smooth with the ladies. There's no ladies with some super sexy name or a name that means something sexual. And this movie is just like, hey, James Bond isn't playing with nobody. You know, and even the whole thing with the cards and all that, it's just like, I don't know. I'll explain it. I'll say this is a cool movie to watch when it comes to the action and everything. I don't consider him really like a serious James Bond. I just think he's like more of a serious action star type of thing, like an action fighter. I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, I mean Casino Royale, it was all right when it comes to the action things. The whole plot with the villain, it's done, it's over with, and it wasn't at its best. I don't think so. But people like this movie, but I I'll put it in the cool section because okay, it was cool fighting scenes, like seriously good fighting scenes. Like I said, the whole first part of the movie with the African and chasing him and going all the way up to I forget the name of that thing, Crane and all that was pretty good. You know, Quantum of Solace. Uh, they try to go back to Goldfinger and they cover the girl in gold. I mean oil, which oil is money. You know, oil is supposed to be another form of gold, black gold, Texas tea. You heard the thing. And so that's what that was about. But then the whole thing is that he leaves the dude in the desert with the oil can to drain it. You know, and I guess he was just some freaking sicko that James Bond came across, and he didn't like him. You know, but there's some once again good action scenes in this movie. I think what they did focus more on trying to make great action when they came up with this guy being James Bond, because there's some real good ones in this one too. Um, yeah, but the way the villain dies is the coldest part of the movie, the most memorable part. And he didn't really die, but I mean, you leave him in the desert. He got nothing to drink. He's died. He's hot. So you leave him with some oil, make him drink it to where he dies. So yeah, that's the most shocking part of this whole movie. But I will give it. I can't say it's excellent, y'all. I'm sorry. I can't say Quantum of Solace is freaking awesome. I'll give it another cool. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. I don't know what it is. It doesn't reach to me like the other ones. A lot of his stuff doesn't. Now Skyfall, I think I watched Spectre before I watched Skyfall, and I think that I don't know if that's the one where the whole building starts grappling, coming up, and all that. This is where I get confused. So it's like Spectre though actually is a callback to Thunderball. It's like a callback to Thunderball and Diamonds Are Forever with the guy with the cat and stuff. Even when you watch uh, dang, which one is it? The Spy That Loved Me or something like that. They kill the guy from Diamonds Are Forever. Roger Moore dumps him into some big old chimney and kills him. But Spectre is supposed to be about that same type of character, same type of villain and all that. But it is totally different. It's all new James Bond. So did see Skyfall, and I will give Skyfall a grade because it was some great scenes in there. Spectre, I'm just gonna shorten it because why the hell not? I don't really dig this James Bond. I'll give him, cool. No Time to Die. No Time to Die. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I really fucking paid attention. I actually fell asleep watching this movie a couple times. So like I really don't think this James Bond. It's not that I say he's a bad actor or whatever. It's just the fact that they lost the originality of James Bond. Now I would say Timothy Dalton doesn't really have that charm either, but it's the way he delivers lines, the way he's not playing but he's serious, and at the same time he has a way to look kind of cool, like hey I'm James Bond. This dude has this like I don't know like frustration about him that makes me go, what the hell is wrong with this guy? So anyway, this movie, I'll put it here in the cool section as well. They're cool movies. I'm not gonna say they're great movies. I'm sorry. It's just somewhere between Timothy Dalton, not Timothy Dalton, but Pierce Bronson, and then this guy. It doesn't make sense. And I watch it. I'm thinking, where's how's this James Bond? And it's so weird because you got multiple actors that played James Bond. You got Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, uh, Timothy Dalton. Um, what's this guy? Rosenbeek, I guess this guy's name was that played in Her Majesty's Secret Service. He really didn't seem like James Bond, but between him and this guy, it doesn't really seem like James Bond to me. Them two guys don't seem like James Bond. But for some reason, Sean Connery's portrayal of James Bond kind of rolls over just a hair bit to Roger Moore, and then shoot, Timothy Dalton, his is like really aggressive, but at the same time, you can understand him a little bit to where, yeah, this guy could be James Bond. But when you get to Pierce Brosnan, to me, it's like they hit the nails on the head. That guy's James Bond. Just the way he was talking, the way he does things, it's just, he's cool. He does it, but also he's Remington Steele, so that's those of y'all that remember, like I do, that he was Remington Steele, which was actually a character some girl wrote, but they copied that so many times in TV shows because that's the same thing with Castle, I think, or something like that. But anyway, so here we are. This is the list. This is my decision on what I think about James Bond movies. With my whole telling you about the movies, probably ruin it for you guys because you might not watch it anyway, but maybe I gave you an idea to try to watch them. I would say check out my 5 favorite movies. You know what I'm saying? I mean, The Golden Gun, Moonraker, License to Kill, Goldeneye, and The World Is Not Enough. And you probably like James Bond after that. If not, check out The Great. Just sit there and look, take your time, pull your string up if you look on the phone and go, oh, well, this is what he likes, and see if you like it. But to me, yeah, this is where it goes. And hopefully you go and try to watch these and see what you think, and maybe get people to sit back and watch with you, make a joke out of it. Come up with like a little game every time James Bond pulls a gun out or say martini or whatever, you take a shot. You know, drinking game. And so, otherwise, peace be with you guys. Because this has been fun, and yeah, I mean it's a good playlist. It's a good list of the way I sum up. So yeah, it's pretty much good. So anyway, I did expect someone to say something in chat, but it wasn't gonna happen. I steer people. So anyway, peace be with you guys. Blessings upon you always. Till later. Word life.